Okay, when the Rebbe is Ani Ledodi of Sefer Maamar Melukot Shin Samach Gimel, we'll start again from the bottom line of the page. Okay, the Rebbe brings down that in the Alter Rebbe's Maamar, you have Ani Ledodi, Vedodi li. Vedodi li is Rosh Hashanah. Ani Ledodi is Elul. Vedodi li is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So the Rebbe asks, Vedodi li is also part of the acronym of Elul, yet Vedodi li means Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So he says that he explained that he continues in the Maamar of the previous Rebbe that Elul is the time of Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim. Even though it's Ani Ledodi, the Avodah of the Jew, nevertheless, that Avodah of the Jew, that he could come to Ani Ledodi, even though he's far from Yiddishkeit, this comes from the revelation of above. Like we learn, every Avodah a Jew does needs a revelation from above. So therefore, the Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim is not the awakening, it's giving the ability, the Mesinas Koyach. In other words, the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy is not a revelation from above. That's a revelation from above. It's just opening the door to let you go in to be able to go do what you need to do. And then you have the level of Ani Ledodi of Elul, and then you have Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Okay? By the way, the class today is sponsored by Avram Aradian. So he says like this. And then he continues like the Rebbe explained to explain these two inyanim. So he says the marshal of the king in the field. So he says when the king is in the field, he's accessible to everybody. Okay, now he says like this in the bottom line. The difference between the king in the field versus the king in the palace is shnei inyanim. It's two basic things. Number one, number one, as far as the level of the revelation, where is the ultimate glory of the king? Is Behechem Malchusay in the palace, when Belavushim Malchus Bekesem Malchus, when the king is wearing the crown, it's sitting on the throne, over there is the real glory of the king. When the king is in the field, he's not dressed to throw the glory. He's dressed like a simpleton. But Hagilui Atzmeu Beikak Shubasada. But in other words, like this, level-wise, the palace is greater than the field, because level in revelation-wise, so to speak, the king is more showing himself as a king in the palace than in the field. But in the difference, though, is the king is more revealed to everybody in the field more than he is in the palace. Why? When the king is in the palace, you can't just walk into the king. You need permission. And only the unique, chosen individual people can go in. Yeah, to be when the king is in the field, Rishoyim v'yechelim. The Alter Rebbe uses the word Rishoy, they're permitted, and the Friedrich Rebbe adds in the mind, they're able to, lahak poponev kol mishareitz, whoever wants can meet the king. Meaning like this. In revelation of the glory of the king is more in the palace than it is in the field. Accessibility, though, of the king is much more in the field than he is in the palace. In the palace, nobody can go see him. In the field, everybody can see him. And greets everybody with good countenance. Because is smiling at everybody. So it is just by the physical king, so it is in Ruchnius. What does it mean? The revelation of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, which is similar to the concept of Melech Behecholoi, of the king in the field. It's the level of the king awakening the people, similar to the king in the palace when he's dressed. Shumatel emo pachat. When he instills fear and awe. Meaning is, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is like the king in the palace. The king in the palace instills fear and awe on every person that comes to see him. It's just the image of the palace can frighten somebody. But in order for a person to understand and feel Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, it's only lachar kedimas aveda b'cheder shel, is only through the aveda of Elul, through the king in the field. In other words, like the Rebbe says in the Moshe, the king goes out into the field, everybody wants to see him, comes to see him, and then the Rebbe continues that when he goes back to the palace, everybody goes with him. Now that doesn't mean everybody goes back into the palace, because in the palace nobody can go into. What it means is, by seeing the king in the field and the accessibility of the king to everybody, then when they go back to the palace and you have the awe and the fear of the king, then you understand and are able to fear the king more. Because you can't fear something you don't know about. Little kids that don't know what a danger is don't have any fear of danger because they don't know it's dangerous. You have to understand the presence of the king. Once you understand the presence of the king, and then the king goes back to the palace, then you can have the ultimate awe and fear of the king when he's in the palace. But if you don't know what a king is, so you see a guy in the palace, not going to do anything.
In the field, he's out of his elements. It doesn't have the grandeur and the awe.
Correct. But his accessibility is much greater in the field to everybody. Now, in order to understand the splendor of the king, you need first to have the king in the field.
No, in the palace.
Then you understand what the king really is in the palace. If you have no understanding of a king whatsoever, you're not going to fear him when you see the palace. You don't know what a king is. When the king is accessible to everybody, and the people get to meet the king, and he relates to them, smiling at them, showing them good countenance, whatever. Then he says, he says, Yad Gishagidu Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim is be'ikar lachagdim aveda de Eloi Shaydei zehu nasim avchurim shaba'am. He says like this. The Rebbe is explaining why. Because once you meet the king in the field and he's smiling at you and he's accepting you, then you become like the chosen people that go into the king whenever they want. Then you have a connection to the king. Without the Avodah Vel, you have no connection to the king. Once you see the king and you have accessibility to him, then when you walk him back to the palace, you're more comfortable with him. He says, not only that, not physically, conceptually, then you're comfortable with the king, then you can have a connection with the king when he's in the palace. And the revelation of Elul, when the king is in the field, again, it doesn't awaken the person, it just gives him the sinas koyach. It opens the door to come in to do it. He's not stimulating you.
When the Rebbe was giving a dollar, was it in the field or in the palace?
Field. When you went into the Yechidus, into the Rebbe's room, then the king was in the palace. That's why even in Yechidus, you couldn't just go in. I want to go in, I go in. I mean, it didn't work like that. Usually people had to wait months for appointments. But when the Rebbe was giving dollars, he was out there for everybody. Whoever wanted. There's no restriction who can go to dollars. Avan is seen as koyach la'aveda shaydei gilui zeh is l'kol echad ve'echad gam la'archeika b'yosef. But this giving the ability, the Nesinas Koyach, not the revelation to awaken you, the allowance of coming to see the king, that is not only for the people in Sada, it's even the people in Midbar. Bedogmas Malach Masad, Shamelach b'matzav zeh, when the king is accessible to everybody, ein matal emo pachat. He doesn't instill such a fear and awe when he's in the field, because he's budding with everybody. You want to know what that is today when a politician is campaigning? When he's campaigning,
Going to coffee shops.
yeah, whatever. He goes, everybody, he's buddy with everybody.
No jacket, no tie, it's nothing.
Huh?
No jacket, no tie.
Right. Yeah. Well, today even the presidents go without clothes, whatever. He says, especially those who are in the field, which is Darga Nemucha, much lower level than the city. City is inhabitants and all that. Not only that, okay, even when the king is in the field, and here the Rebbe is saying another thing. When the king is in the field, he's not even awakening for you to come to him. Like the Rebbe says, you have to want. The king doesn't make you want. The king says, I'm here. You could come to see me. But if you don't want to, I'm not making you come see me. So Elul, when the king is in the field, he's not only awakening you to come, he's just giving you the ability to come. And you have to want to go meet the king. If you don't want to go meet the king, you're not going to go see him. And he says, this that they want to see the face of the king, it's their desire. They have to want. The permission and the ability to see the king, that's when the king is in the field. In other words, Al Rebbe is explaining like this. What is the Aved of Elul? Aved of Elul is not awakening a Jew. In other words, the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim of Elul, that's what Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim of Elul. The Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim that are revealed in Elul are not stimulating the person, not awakening the person. It's like the king in the field. I'm here. You want to come see me? You could come see me. You don't want to come? You don't come. All it is giving you the allowance. In the palace, you can't. When I'm in the field, you can come see me. That's it, but you have to want. So the Rebbe was like, so Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim of Elul is not awakening the person at all. All it is giving you permission, allowance, possibility to come meet the king. But you have to want.
Before it said that initiation is from Shamayim.
Huh?
Before the Rebbe said that initiation is from Shamayim.
But here the Rebbe is explaining this, and there's two types of initiation from heaven. There's initiation that king says, I'm here, you can come see me. And the other one is the king stimulates you to come. But the Rebbe says Elul is not like that. Elul is the first one. He's giving you permission to come. But you have to come. You have to be the one to come. So he says in Dalit, but v'tzarach lahav, we need to understand, okay? So meanwhile, the Rebbe is explaining what is the mashal of Elul, because he asked the question, the Rebbe asked the question in the Maamar, if Elul is the revelation you Gimel Midas Rachmim, why isn't it a Yom Tif? Right? If it's a revelation of more Kedusha, then it should be a Yom Tif. So the Rebbe is explaining, what does the Rebbe explain? The count of the Melech Basada. The Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim that are revealed in Elul is only like the king in the field. What's the mashal of the king in the field? He only allows you to come see him. He's not stimulating, he's not awakening you to come see him. There has to be the Ledodi, there has to be the Aved of the Jew. The revelation of above is not awakening you to do it, it's giving you ability to do it. The accessibility to do it.
Alter Rebbe doesn't say that in his mind.
No. The Alter Rebbe doesn't say this in the mind. The Alter Rebbe said, ask the question, why isn't Yom Tov and Melech Basada? That's it. Everybody who wants can come see him.
He does say there's the Leila in Elul.
No, he doesn't. In the Elul, he says that Shusar Leila is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
The word itself says Ani Ledodi first.
Ani
the Rebbe is
Ledodi.
explaining, is not really giving you his
So the Rebbe is explaining over here, what's the melchel of Melech Basada? When the king comes into the field, he is not stimulating you to come. If you want, you can come. Right, accessibility.
Rebbe said that there's a part of the Vedodi in Ani Ledodi.
There's part of Vedodi in Elul also. That's what the Rebbe said. But he didn't explain that aspect of it yet.
Rabbi, what is this becoming anything in life? Anything in life you have to want to do.
Yeah, but sometimes,
You can't drive on the...
one second. Sometimes I can entice, okay, you do my driving, okay. I want to teach you how to drive. I want you to learn how to drive. I'll entice you, I'll buy you a new car. To stimulate you to drive, yeah? So then, it's not only giving you the ability to learn how to drive, I'm awakening, I'm stimulating you to learn how to drive. That's not Melech Basada. Melech Basada means, I'm giving you the number to call the driving school. I'm giving you the number to call the driving school, but that's it, you gotta call.
You don't need driving school anymore. The cars drive by themselves.
Okay, when the Rebbe said this, they didn't drive by themselves. But here the Rebbe is explaining a whole different concept of the whole mashal of the Alter Rebbe. The Rebbe is explaining what is the mashal of the Melech Basada. Just learning the Maamar Torah doesn't mean anything. King is in the field, therefore what? And he said, but now we need to understand like this. L'chayra, I'll say it first. The Rebbe is asking L'chayra, the mashal is only the fact that the king is in the field, meaning I'm giving you accessibility. Why is Alter Rebbe also in the mashal saying he accepts everybody with good countenance, he smiles at everybody? Why is that relevant to the nimshal of Elul? Elul is he's giving you the ability to come see him. So Melech Basada. Why does he have to add that he's smiling at you, he's giving you good countenance and so on? He said, and the Rebbe says, you need to indalit. Seen as no, I'm sorry. Yeah. Whoever wants to come see him could see him. But why is he adding that he greets everybody with good countenance? And he's smiling at everybody. Again, the Rebbe is taking every detail over here. When does the king smile at you? After you come to him. In other words, like this. The king comes out into the field. You have permission to see him. Then the Alter Rebbe adds that when you come, then the king smiles at you. If you don't come, he's not going to smile at you. In other words, the king comes into the field, he's giving you permission to see him, and then when you do your Avodah, then the king reveals more of himself to you. And he says, that smiling should be your Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Then the king is revealing himself to you. He's not giving you the ability, the permission. He says, which is Daidili, is Baser Simei Tshuva. But the Mashal Melech Basada is a Mashal of Elul, which is before the Avodah. Okay, so now the Rebbe is asking a very simple question. Not in the marshal, the king smiling at everybody is contradicting what he's really saying. He said, Avodah of Elul is ani Ledodi. Right? Avodah of the Jew. Dodi li, Hashem smiling and awakening himself to revealing himself to us, is Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. Yet in the marshal of Elul, of the king in the field, the Alter Rebbe is saying that the king smiles at everybody. In other words, if you don't come, he doesn't smile. So he says like this, guys, I'm here, you can come see me. When you come see me, I'm going to smile at you. That means I'm going to reveal myself to you. But that's not Elul anymore, that's Tishrei. That's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Why is Alter Rebbe saying this is a marshal of Elul? And Gam Tzarech Lahavin Shnei Inyanim also, what does Alter Rebbe says? Two things. Number one, Mekablam B'Sefer Panim Yafis. He receives them with good countenance. Umar Panim Seichakis. And then he smiles at them. It's two concepts. He receives them, and then he shows them. The Gam is again the Mekablam, as far as receiving them, he says, Mara Panim Yafis. Beautiful countenance. And yet, Lemara, when he says Lemara Mahem, when he's showing them, he says Panim Seichak, a smiling face. He gives a smiley face. So here he says he receives them with nice countenance, and then he says he shows smiling. What's the difference between the language? I told you the Rebbe rips apart every word of this marshal in the whole concept of the Avodah of Elul. Okay, so basically, before the Rebbe starts giving the explanation of all this, the Rebbe is basically trying to, the Rebbe is explaining, we're trying to understand it. The Rebbe is explaining that the marshal of Melech Basada is the concept of what it means, the revelation of Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, which is revealed in Elul. Why isn't it a Yom Tiv? Because it's not a revelation of godliness like Shabbos and Yom Tiv. Shabbos and Yom Tiv is a revelation of godliness. This is not a revelation of godliness. It's giving the ability to come meet the king. If you don't want, you're not going to come. Because he's not stimulating you to come. He's not giving you what they call promotion that you should want to come. He's giving permission to come. When you come, then the king reveals himself to you. So the Rebbe asks, that should be Tishrei, not Elul. And second, even in what he say, two things. He receives everybody, Sefer Panim Yafim, with good countenance, and then he reveals a smile. By the way, the concept of a smile is the pneumius. When you smile at somebody, it's with your face, yeah? You don't smile with your stomach. You smile with your face, which with panim bepanim, face to face, means a close relationship. Now, when you smile at somebody, it shows even a closer relationship than if you just look at them. Right? You can look at somebody, I hate your guts, and you can still look at them. And it says on your face, I hate your guts.
Smile or a handshake? Smile.
No, smile is more than a handshake. It's a handshake. I can shake your hand, I can hate your guts.
A handshake and tea, and met, and shake your hand.
Like people come, come on, what is that?
Somebody was saying,
You ever find people call you, hi, how are you? And they start asking a question. Yeah? Why didn't they wait for your answer how you are? Maybe you're not good. Hi, how are you? Can I ask you something? Yeah? Why didn't you wait for the answer? Because they're not interested in the answer. This is an opening statement. One second. It's interesting then. You're not supposed to greet a mourner. Halachic, you can't give Shalom Aleichem to a mourner. And a mourner can't give Shalom Aleichem because he doesn't have peace. It's halacha. So the pasuk can discuss if a mourner answers the phone, can he say hello? A mourner. A velut. If somebody is in mourning, can they answer the phone hello? And they're right, you could. Because hello doesn't mean that. It's just you have to start the conversation. So you say like, how are you? You don't mean it. It's not, you're not asking them how they are. You just got to start somewhere. So you start, how are you? What else should you do? What did you want?
Somebody was saying that in Caucasian American culture, people smile for no reason, just be nice. But in
It's
other
a
cultures,
fake smile.
in many other cultures, they only smile when it warrants the need for a smile. I'm just saying.
In
American culture.
because it's Elam HaSheker. It's a false world.
So we're not talking about that type of smile.
When the king in the field smiles at everybody, it's not a political smile. I told you there was a tape. Howard Jarvis, the senator in New York many years ago. So he went into the Rebbe, and there was a tape, and then the Rebbe said they should not give out the tape because they were speaking about the Russian Jews then. This is before, Russians got out. Well, the Brill, some people heard the tape before it got out, but in the tape, Jarvis is flattering the Rebbe. When he came to, all the politicians, when they run for election, go to Old Borough Park in Williamsburg, they want to get all the votes. Yeah, it's all fake. Anyway, so he came to the Rebbe, he's flattering the Rebbe. So the Rebbe looked at him, smiled, and said, I'm not running for office, don't flatter me. In other words, flattery is most of the time fake. Complimenting is not flattery. Flattery is bluff. Complimenting, if it's done real, it's real. Flattery is political garbage. Yeah? So today in Elam HaSheker, everything is false. Smiles are false, kisses are false, hugs are false, everything is false. It's fake because it's Elam HaSheker. That's what Torah says, it's Elam HaSheker. If it's Elam HaSheker, that's what it is. Here we're talking about the king, Hashem, smiling, it's a real smile.
Okay, what does this mean practically in the month of Elul for us? Practically.
In the month of Elul, Hashem says, open up your mouth and I'll fill it. But you got to open your mouth. I'm just saying you have the permission, ability to open your mouth. You want to become better? You have the ability to become better. But I'm not going to make you better. I'm just opening the door of ability to become better.
What does it mean to open up your mouth?
It's easy. The door's open, just walk in. You don't walk in, nothing's going to happen. Right? If there's a treasure in the room, and I open the door, I say, you can go in. I'm not going to make you go in. I'm not going to tell you what's all about in there and everything, and say you can take whatever you see. But I'm opening the door. You can come in. You can go to Shoyim, the Kabul, Pnei HaMelech. You can go meet the king. But whether you do or not, that's not me. Hashem says, that's you. That's Ani Ledodi. I is the revelation Yudgimel Midas Rachmim. It's not Yudgimel Midas Rachmim as an awakening, because then it would be a Shabbos and a Yom Tov. It's just allowing you to come in. And therefore, Elul on weekdays. But obviously, this granting permission is Yudgimel Midas Rachmim. But it's not Yudgimel Midas Rachmim in the revealed state of Kedusha, higher than Ishtalshalis, is the ability to let you do it.